Hi guys! Happy Saturday. Oh God, October is flying by. I thought this was the first week and we're heading into the midweek. It's just, oh wow. Can't believe how quickly the time is flying. I don't know about you, various parts of the country are going back into various stages of lockdown, sadly. That some people are still getting sick. That's not a good thing. Fortunately for us, we do have digital shopping, online shopping. That's a great thing. But when it comes to art supplies, it's been really, really tough to get some things, and I know that. Even for myself, I've been looking for things. But through this, and this is the reason I got on this subject in the first place, all through this, I've had a local art supply store that has been absolutely incredible. You place your order on their website, and within a day, you get your goodies. So I wanted to actually give a shout out. This is my favorite art supply store. We have a Michael's that is less than a kilometer away, but down in the center of the city, right downtown, there is this great art supply store called Endeavors. And the owner is Luke. Hi, Luke, if you're watching. He has a phenomenal staff, and they have been incredible through all of this. And I wanted to give out a little shout. So they're going to pop their website up on the screen here shortly. I placed an order with them yesterday because I am obsessed with pencils lately. And I got an order for these Derwent Inktense ink pencils. I was so excited about these. And so I placed the order, and they arrived this morning. This morning! I ordered them yesterday, and they were right at the door. Came, delivered a little bag, and a really sweet little note attached to my receipt. And it says, thanks so much, Tracy. Happy creating, and stay safe. So to all of the team at Endeavors, Think Play, which is the name of the art store, downtown Fredericton, New Brunswick. You can order from them online. They will ship. Awesome team. These guys have been knocking it out of the park since all of this madness began. So I want to give out a little shout out to my favorite art supply store, Endeavors. So that's that. So as soon as I'm done here today, I'm going to be playing with these because I'm so excited about those. I do have a winner for a giveaway from last Saturday. It was a rather unusual one. It was the Bluebonnet Decorative Painters. So if one of your administrators for your Facebook page could contact me with some shipping information, we will get your set of Dynasty Faux Squirrel brushes out to you. Thanks so much to the Bluebonnet Decorative Painters for watching on Saturday. What else? Oh, I have a great giveaway for today. Yeah, you're gonna love this. I have a 6-piece set of Dynasty Microns. Gorgeous brushes. So if you really are obsessed with all the little details and those finicky little things, these are the brushes for you. So leave your comment in the comment section and hit the share button on that video, and you'll automatically get entered for that drawing on this gorgeous set of Dynasty Micron brushes. So it's been a hell of a week dealing with computer issues. Oh, we finally got them all sorted out. Computers are running beautifully now. So now maybe I can get some work done. I got caught up on everything that I needed to get caught up on, except I was lagging so far behind getting today's live ready that I kind of rushed into choosing one, and I wanted one that would be fun, something that would be relatively simple, and at the same time give us lots to talk about and lots to do. And so we're going to do the voice of the garden. I love painting daisies, and I love doing some stenciling, and this is just a fun piece to paint. So we're going to kick back, and we're going to get started. So I've got mine prepped here. Let me get rid of the pencils and the whatnot. I have mine already base coated and prepped, but we're going to start with that background, that sort of mottled background with the edging. So the base coat on this is, I've got 2 coats of Country Red on this surface. Now we're going to use a high-tech applicator for this one. So you're going to cut a shop towel into 4 pieces. You're going to bundle it up, and then you're going to tuck the bundle inside one of the other 4 pieces so that it makes a little pillow applicator. This is your high-tech applicator. So the process is simple. The color we're going to work with is soft black. And you're going to get this applicator wet, just with water. We want it good and wet, but we don't want it drippy. So just wring a little of the moisture out of it and pick up a little bit of that soft black. Now you're going to pay more attention to the corners. I'm working in a circular fashion, as if you were washing the baby's face. And then I'm going to go all around the outside edge, leaving those corners the darkest. Just like that. And then you can blend that out. Now this soft black is going everywhere, but it is going to get much lighter as you work towards the center. So it just leaves sort of a mottled appearance everywhere. So back up into that corner, nice and dark, and then work the color along the edges like so. I want it darker in the corners. I just find it makes the surface more interesting. It also keeps the center portion of this much lighter, so that all of the things that go on in this are going to have that lighter area to pop them forward. Now I'm just letting the color run out so that it stays dark in the center, or stays dark at the edges, sorry, and then a little lighter towards the center. And I really like that softly mottled look. Just like that. Now you can get your applicator wet with a little more water, and you can soften that effect even further just by going over it with damp applicator. I'm going to turn mine inside out because it's starting to wear out. The canvas will literally chew through this, so there we go. Nice part is that I can, take off a little in the center if I find it's getting a little too dark. There we go. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now, the area where the pot is going to sit.
You just work with a smooth sponge?
You may find the sponge will release too much moisture. That's why you generally go to the shop towel for this. Now, the area where this planter is going to be, this watering can is going to be, you want this a little bit darker back here. So I'm going to pull a little more color in here just to deepen it a little, because I know that's where my pot's going to be. Just like that. Face cloth will do this too, but I find that the shop towel just seems to work really well, and I can control how much moisture is in it. There we go. So there we have our mottled background. Notice that it's brighter in the center and darker at the outside edges. And it has lots of movement and texture running through it. It's essentially a color wash done with one color. Very simple, but it's really effective when you put that line drawing onto it. So here is my prepped surface. I have my line drawing on, and I have everything base coated. We'll go through the various colors that I use to base coat, but before that I have to fix a boo-boo. Obviously I got my finger in the white paint and managed to get white paint on the black, so I'm just going to touch that up.
What size canvas?
This is a 12 by 12. And the pattern is laid out. I wanted to show you something about this line drawing. The pattern is laid out so that if you lay the bottom edge of the sheet of paper and the left-hand edge of that sheet of paper, it is perfectly positioned. So no measuring, no lining up. You just literally drop it in and you will find that it is perfectly positioned for this piece. So we're going to talk about the colors in this. Now I've used, these are Americanas and fluid acrylics in this one. And in this particular case, I have used warm white for the bulk of the white in this. So the white on the business end of this watering can and the white stripes on the watering can are done with Decor Americana warm white. The alternate stripes are done with the lamp black. And then we get to the daisies. The daisies are all painted with a single coat of gesso. And this is the one that I like to use, is the Americana gesso, the Decor Media gesso, sorry. The reason I like this one is because it is quite opaque, but you can thin it out a little bit. Now, I didn't want too heavy a texture on these daisies, so I thinned mine out just a little so that it would fill in, give me a nice opaque coverage, but at the same time, not create too much texture. So that's what I use for painting these daisies. I also use the gesso to base coat the leaves. So underneath this green is a coat of the gesso. So all parts of this are done with the gesso. Same with the bumblebees. I've used gesso for the wings and the alternate stripes. And the rest of the bee is done with lamp black. Now I like the gesso, and you're going to see why in just a moment. I'm going to find my rigger. There it is. Now for those daisies, I'm going to start with the warm white.
Well, there's a nice comment.
Oh.
Mary, you are my lifeline during the pandemic. Thank you for always being upbeat and creative. Heart emoji.
A heart emoji. Thank you, Mary.
I don't know what I would do if I didn't have your live to look forward to here in Cincinnati. Love you.
Aw.
Smiley face.
Well, thank you so much for watching, Mary. I appreciate it. Believe me, your sanity isn't the only one that's being maintained by these Saturday morning glasses. We all are developing cabin fever, I think. A little stress. That was one of the reasons I wanted to do the shout out to Endeavors this morning, was that they have been absolutely remarkable. Their staff have been so great about making sure that us creatives get our goodies and do it quickly. Even though it's been difficult for them to get materials, if they didn't have exactly what you were looking for, they suggested alternatives or helped you choose something else that would work well. I mean, they have just been remarkable. And they deserved a little shout out. So this is one coat of warm white. Look how nice and opaque that is. That's the difference that gesso makes. Having that nice base just makes this so much simpler. And I'm just using a number 2 rigger to get that on. Easy peasy. I do like painting daisies. This is such a relaxed pattern. I mean, they're daisies. You know, the petals aren't perfect. It's okay. Easy peasy. Love it. So don't forget, put your comment in the comment section, share the video, and then you'll get entered for those microns. Oh my gosh, they're awesome. You're going to love those. Whee! The other thing is the Brush Guys, Stuart from the Brush Guys, launched a brand new website this week. I've had a chance to go tootling around in there. What a great site. They did a great job getting that up and running. So if you're going shopping for brushes, which I know most of you do, just like me, I go shopping for them too. We have a link. If you connect through that and then use that coupon code Tracy M, it will give you an additional discount. Now, all the brushes on the on the Brush Guys website are already seriously discounted. I like that they post the list price, which is actually the suggested retail, and then they list their pricing. And so you get an idea just how much of a bargain you're getting when you're buying brushes through them. Stuart was great about getting in touch and letting me know about the link and letting me know about the coupon code, so that those of you that are watching can order your brushes and still get a great price, or an even better price than what you ordinarily would have to pay for them. And their shipping is really quick. They take good care of their customers. Okay, so I'm going to finish up this little daisy down here, and then we will move on to the next step of this. I'm a fan. Love, love, love that ductwork gesso. Just realized I missed a spot right here. Oops. Okay, so I'm going to come down here. I'll finish off this petal here, and we'll talk about this daisy down here at the bottom. Just because it's it's closer to me, and it's almost ready for the various stages. These daisies, I'm a firm believer that they don't have to be uber detailed to be really effective. And I have a simple technique for painting daisies. I love daisies. It's a fun flower, a happy flower.
Terry Casper finally got her encaustic from the brush kit.
Yay! They finally got them back in. They were out for a while.
I wonder if it's a fugly brush.
It is a fugly brush. Veronica at FM. Hi, Veronica. I know you're watching. Her and I had a discussion the other day. Somebody had asked her about my fugly brush, and she had no idea what they were talking about. So, because she knows it as a Dynasty encaustic, a hot wax encaustic. So she was trying to figure out what my fugly brush was. So she finally asked me the other day. So we had a bit of a giggle over that. I love my fugly brush. Renee's holding up my fugly brush. This is why I call it my fugly brush. It's an utter disaster. I refuse to get rid of it because I just love it. It creates all sorts of fun textures. But yeah, I have virtually killed this brush. Veronica, it died, but it lived a good life. Okay, so I got one more petal on this daisy, and then we can talk about how we're finishing this out. Now, my daisies are not involved by any stretch of the imagination. So this is the one we're going to work on, and I'll walk you through how to complete it. It is a little wet, though. I am going to take a second to dry it. There we go. So painting these daisies, they look kind of rough for quite a while, and it's not until we do the final step that they really start to take shape. So step one, I'm going to use an angled shader and pick up a small amount of cobalt teal hue. That's in the fluid acrylic. This one right here. It's that brilliant turquoise color. I love this color. And I'm going to float at the base of those petals, like so, next to the center. It is not a pretty float, it's just getting some color on there. Just like so. Easy peasy. So that's step one. And I like to make sure that some of that blue comes up the petal a little bit. So sort of a U shape or a C stroke to get that little bit of blue to travel up the petal, just a little. And then once that is dry, and it'll only take a second, fluid acrylics dry really quick, we're going to use a little bit of asphaltum. Now in the asphaltum you need only a tiny amount because I'm going to thin this out drastically. I don't want this color full strength at all. So tiny amount, and then make sure you blend it out well. And I'm going to float right over that cobalt teal. Just like that. And all it does is it subdues that blue a little bit, sort of gives it a greenish cast. And it deepens the white on those petals. So it just makes them a little bit darker. You don't want it too strong. I'm going to pick up a little more of that asphaltum, a little stronger this time. And, okay, perhaps a little stronger yet. And I'm going to put a float of asphaltum in the center of this flower, in the yellow, just to create a little dip in the center. Just like so. And then I'm coming over to this pyrrole orange, which is the vivid orange. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of that. And again, I'm blending it out very well. And I'm going to put a float of that orange along the base of that yellow center. Getting there. I'm going to deepen a shadow here a little bit up against this. There we go. Wasn't quite dark enough. And that's just with that asphaltum. I just deepened it a little bit because it wasn't quite dark enough. Nice. So from this point, we're going to start detailing the center of that flower. And that's where these micron are going to come in. Now, I love the micron liners in this line, and I have 3 of them here. I have a 0 script. That's that nice long skinny one. And then I have a 10-aught extra long detail, which is a very fine, nice point liner. But this one, that is the 10-aught. Okay, I've got them mixed up. Ah, there it is. This is the one right here. This is a 15-aught extra long detail. It is super fine. And I love this for doing little details on things. So I'm going to dip into some asphaltum first. And we're going to start adding just a few little dip dots, like so, along the base of the center. Make sure some of them overlap onto the petals. This will just help soften the center a little.
Store paint shelves are almost bare. Is there another color that could replace asphaltum?
Sadly, not really. You can use a burnt umber and thin it out heavily, but I will warn you that the color is not going to be as bright as if you were using the asphaltum. The burnt umber has a reddish cast to it, and it is an umber, and it was designed specifically to subdue color, and it will subdue it quite drastically. So now I picked up a little bit of warm white, and I'm adding a few more dots. These dots essentially just soften the center. So they're random, and when they're small, it gives it an even more soft appearance than if you used a stylus. I like the tinier dots, and I do like to take them out up onto the petals. It does make a big difference.
Phyllis Higgins asks, what is the difference between media and regular acrylics?
The media fluid acrylics, for the most part, I think there's only about 6 colors in the whole line that are not transparent. The pigment load is much higher on them. These ones fall into the same category as the golden acrylics as far as pigment load. They're a very strong pigment load, lots and lots of color and very intense. And it takes very little paint to do anything with them. I do love working with them. So you can see how much those little tiny dots soften the center of this flower quite nicely. So now I've got that flower's just about complete. I'm going to let that center dry. I'm going to grab my favorite angled brush. You can tell it's my favorite because you can barely read the size on it. It's a 3/8 faux squirrel angle. And we're going to use some not plantation pine. I keep thinking plantation pine, but that's not what it is. It is sap green. If I can find my sap green. I'm using a sap green in the fluid acrylic. If you don't have the sap green, plantation pine will work just fine. So I'll get a good dose of water. And I'm going to pick up a little on my angle. And this is where the leaves get shaded. I like to take my color towards the base of the leaf and put a shadow in first. And then let that dry.
Nothing harder than trying to be random.
That is true. So once that little shadow at the base of the leaf is dry, I take my angle and I float down the center of the leaf. And that gives you that little flip over, that little dip in the center vein. Now to accentuate that, I'm going to take a little of that green gold, the color that we base coated with. I'm going to blend that out, and then I'm going to pick up a little bit of the warm white. Now that warm white's going to do two things. It's going to change the value of the green, and it's also going to make it a little bit more opaque so that I can do my highlight right there. I want the highlight fairly subtle, so I'm not using a ton of paint, but I do want to pop that center vein slightly. There we go. And I'm going to take that same color and I'm going to go to the outside edge of this leaf and do that again. So opposite the highlight, the shadow, and then on the leading edge of that leaf. Now, if you're finding that your highlight is getting too white and it's not bright enough, come back to your plantation pine or your sap green plantation pine, whichever you used to shade it with, and deepen it. There always comes a point where that highlight will not get any brighter, because white is white and white is as bright as you can get. So whenever that happens, try deepening the shadow opposite and your highlight will jump up. Now the stem gets shaded just underneath that flower with the same sap green or plantation pine, and down here. Now I'm going back to my 15-aught detail liner, and I'm going to take a little of that green gold and a little of that warm white, and I'm going to brush mix the two. Again, if you don't have the green gold, try the margarita. It will work just fine for this. And I like this. I like to put a soft, squiggly line around my leaves. Just makes them look a little softer. And you can add some really nice little curlicues. That's one of the reasons you will love these microns. Look how fine that line is. And super easy. That brush gives nice control. And that brush is going to be used in a variety of places throughout, just to soften and add little vines and tendrils. So now comes the fun part. I always get excited about this part. So to finish off those daisies, that's when my gel pen comes into play. This one is dead. Gasp. This is my Uniball Signo Dx, and it's a 0.38. It is a super fine point, and it has a stainless steel ball. Now, most of these gel pens will not work all that well on acrylic paint, but this one does, works beautifully. So this is what I like to do. I take my gel pen and I just put sketchy little lines and just detail some of those little areas. It doesn't have to be perfect, and I just go along the edge to get the general shape, but I don't worry about getting it utterly perfect. Doesn't matter if it's on the white or on the red, it just doesn't matter. These daisies work up quick. And this is just fun. It's a relaxing, easy way to detail things.
I'm gonna zoom in on that daisy.
It's just a light, sketchy line. I'm not putting a whole lot of pressure or not working all that hard to do it. But I love how this looks. And there's your daisy. Easy peasy, yes? Super easy. And I love how they look. So the next thing I want to do is get into this bumblebee. I love my bumblebees. I'm going to grab a rigger. I'm using a 0 rigger for this one. I'm going to pick up a little of that warm white. And again, this bee has been gessoed. So I'm going to use some warm white on my 0 rigger and pull some color onto those wings over top of that gesso. So I don't need 10 layers of white paint to get opaque wings. These are so easy. And I love that these little guys are, kind of sketchy. They're not perfect. Makes them more fun. I have gesso on the stripes of this bee, and I'm going to go in with a little of that diarrhea yellow, which is that brilliant school bus yellow in the fluid acrylic. If you don't have the fluid acrylic, you can use saffron yellow instead. So I'm going to fill in that area like so. And I just noticed that I didn't paint his eyeballs. So I'm going to take a little bit of lamp black on my brush. Paint his eyeballs. There we go. So I'm going to dry him real quick. Now, for his wings, he is really simple to paint. I gotta find my 3/8 angle here. There we go. Now his wings get a little touch oh goodness, of the cobalt teal. Pardon me. And I like to put a little towards the center near his body, like that. These little bees, I love how these guys are. They're just sort of sketchy and simple. They're not an elaborate or even realistic. They're just cute. So a little bit of cobalt blue nearest the body and on the wings.
When starting out with the media acrylics, what would you suggest to start with? Or would it just be dependent on what you will be painting?
The nice thing about the fluid acrylics is that they are designed like a fine art paint. And so I usually recommend choosing colors that come out of the primaries. And that's one of the reasons that I use the ones that I do. I use a green, I use an orange, which are both secondary colors. I use a blue, which is usually the cobalt teal, but there's some other blues in there. So choose a red, choose a blue, choose a yellow, and then choose 3 to 4 secondary colors. I usually look for a green and then a purple, like a diox, into an orange, so that you only have 7 or 8 colors, and that's an excellent start. If you have those basic primaries, so a primary magenta, there is a primary cyan, which is a beautiful blue, the diarylide yellow, and then the sap green and the green gold. If you have a basic selection, you can work from there. And they work in combination with your Americanas. They will work in combination with all of your other water-based products. You don't have to worry about any confusion as far as that's concerned. You are going to love working with them. Give them water and use them on watercolor paper. They create beautiful watercolor effects. You can use them over your acrylics, use them in your journaling, use them in whatever you like, even your card making. They're fantastic. They're easy to use and they're very forgiving. So I'm using a little bit of that pyrrole orange to shade down one side of that bumblebee on that yellow, just to make him pop a little bit. And then I'm going to let him dry. Now, one of the cool things about fluid acrylics that you may not know is that there's actually 3 whites in the product line. There's Titan Buff, Titanium White, and then we have this. This is translucent white. So if you need a white highlight, but you don't want it to be burying whatever it is that you're painting, this translucent white is awesome. So I'm going to load up mine, tip load of that translucent white, and I'm going to put a little highlight on my bee. Of course, it would help if it was on the right side.
Use them like watercolor.
Oh. Like I said, those fluid acrylics are very highly pigmented. It really does not take a lot of color to work with them. They're very, very easy to work with. So I have that orange in, the yellow in. I put in a little highlight with the translucent white. I'm going to take a little bit of warm white. I'm going to thin it out a little bit. And I'm going to put a little highlight just like this, just a few strokes of white with that fine liner. Onto the belly of my bumblebee. And they don't have to be perfect. It's just a little, oops. I have a cyclops for a bumblebee now. And when I said the fluid acrylics are forgiving, they really are. I'm going to go back into my translucent white and try this again.
Deb says, good morning.
Morning, Puddin'.
Can we zoom in on that bee?
Yeah. There we go. He's going to zoom in here nice and tight. So you can see I'm not putting really strong details in him, but he needs a little bit. And now I'm going to take that 5/8 again, or that 3/8 angle one more time. And I'm going to find my asphaltum. And again, I don't want this shadow to be too strong or too full strength, so I'm going to blend it out. And I'm going to put a shadow on my bee right there. Just tones that down a little bit.
Would that translucent white be similar to zinc white?
Yes, yes, it is very similar. So now I've got a few final little details to do on this bee. I'm going to give him some legs.
You're welcome.
And these are just tiny details, and we're not futzing or putzing too much with them. So now our bee is just about done. And then we're going to go back to our pen. Oops, where'd he go? Where are you? There we are. Okay, so we're going to go back to our pen, and again, I'm just going to use a sketchy line around his wings, just to add a little detail, a little texture, like so. Neatness doesn't count. Do the same thing around his body. This just sort of connects everything a little bit. You can add little sketchy details.
Painting the bee makes me want to ask how you can make them look fuzzy or velvety.
Most of the time, that fuzzy or velvety look that you get is me doing this little sketchy thing around the outside. I don't really paint him to look fuzzy, but I do have a neat technique if you want to do them larger and more detailed that makes them look fuzzy, and it's just a chisel blend. So essentially you would double load an angled brush or a flat brush and chisel blend the color in layers, and then you will get a fuzzy look. But on these little guys, most of that fuzziness is just how I sketch around him.
That might be a microphone. You can't hear me quite as clearly.
Oh, I'm not sure that's a bad thing.
They don't want me to have a microphone, believe me.
No. Okay, so we're going to come over here and work on this pot, pitcher, watering can, whatever. So I'm going to grab a little bit of warm white. Now we have a tag. Ooh, that brush was not cleaned.
Please repeat the name of the pen.
The pen is a Uniball Signo. It's a DX, and the size is a 0.38. This is my everything brush, or everything pen. I use it on everything, from detailing this stuff to working in journals and notebooks, and it is my everything pen. I love this thing. It's also what I do most of my line drawings with.
I love hearing his voice. Okay.
No.
I have a face for radio.
He does not. He's handsome.
Yeah, sure. How do you get rid of the white lines from your tracing?
For my graphite, oh, I have just the tool for that. I have to find it. It's in my little tool cup here. I think we all have one of these on our painting table, just the stuff we use all the time. And this is it. This is my answer to that. This is a Factus black eraser. It's a black eraser. The reason I use them is, one, it doesn't smudge or smear those graphite lines. It takes them off very easily. It also does not polish or leave marks behind on the surface or the canvas. Works particularly well on dark colors. So for black canvases or black wood pieces, that's always been an issue, that if you took an eraser to it, you'd get a shiny spot. Well, this does not do that. And the fact it's black, they're inexpensive. You can get them for under $3 for 2 of them. They have them at Hobby Lobby, they have them at Michael's, they have them at almost all art supply stores. These are a fantastic eraser.
Do you ever use a Posca pen? P-O-S-C-A?
Posca? No.
Posca pen?
No.
Oh. There you go.
No, I don't. Okay. So I have this great little tag on this pot. I'm just going to put another coat of white on it. And we're going to have some fun detailing that in a little bit too. And I'm going to put another couple of spots on here I'm not terribly tickled with, so I put a little bit of white just to give them a little more opacity. And I'm going to ask my camera guy here to go over to my workstation near the markers and bring me a set of those alphabet stamps, the small ones, up on the shelf, and an ink pad.
Lowercase?
Yeah, that's fine.
Lowercase?
Thank you.
Or do you want capital?
Oh, bring me the capitals too.
Capitals isn't open.
It's giving me too many choices here.
Oh, that's your fault. And
Tell you, it's hard to get good help. Here we go. So I'm just finishing off a couple of spots that I'm not thrilled with, that are not quite opaque enough, so that doesn't take too much time. There we go. Now, the reason I was talking about the little stamp pads, there's a couple ways you can do this. So this little tag here, you can paint it in, or you can cut it out of a sheet of paper and then decoupage it on. That's entirely up to you. But I'm going to work with the painted surface and a stamp pad. And that paint's not quite dry. Sounds like a jet taking off. There we go. So I'm going to choose the word joy. And you could stamp any word you really wanted to. But I kind of like the word joy. I want a positive word for today. Too much negativity in the earth today. Oh my gosh. Okay, 2 things you can never do with acrylic tips. One is get little stamps out of a box, and the other is work with any kind of tape. So, I've got the word joy. I have J-O-Y. And I'm going to use a stamp pad to put this on. And in the center of that tag, J,
Your left hand works so well with your cameraman.
He's easy. As long as I feed him, it's all good. There. So, simple as that.
What is the name of your favorite large favorite brush?
My large favorite brush?
Yeah.
Are you talking about my fugly brush? I think I have one that's not so fugly. There we go. This is my favorite fugly brush. This is that big one that I use so often. I use it on everything for doing backgrounds and dry brushing and a huge variety of things. It's a very versatile brush. It's called a Dynasty Encaustic Hot Wax Oval. And the brush guys do have these on their website. It's a fantastic brush. It's a natural bristle. It will move paint around if you're putting gesso on surfaces, if you're doing backgrounds, texturing. And I'll tell you what they look like after a year and a half This is what they look like new. This is what it looks like once it's been in my hands for 1.5 years. So I love this brush. It's a workhorse and you can do so much with it. Okay, so I have the word joy in the center of my tag.
Hello from the Adirondacks.
Ooh, Adirondacks is nice.
Yeah.
So the color that we're going to work with most on this pot is asphaltum. I know you're shocked. So asphaltum on an angled shader. So I am going to shade underneath all these flowers up here and right onto the black and around and down the side. Now those little stamps that I just used, I love those. You can fish those out of that dollar bin at Michael's when they have those things at the front end of the store. Absolutely love that section. And you can get some really great little tools out of there that are affordable, they're reasonably priced, there's usually lots of selection, and you can do some fun things with them. Now I'm just putting a float of asphaltum everywhere underneath those flowers. It's not a particularly neat and tidy float. I am not too concerned with the neatness at this point. I just want a good float to define this pot, pitcher, or water can.
Archival ink. Is that what that is?
Yes, this one is archival. This is a stays-on stamp pad from Sukaniko. It's a Japanese ink company. I like these because they dry very, very quickly and the water doesn't smudge them once they're dry. So all of the shading on this piece is done with the asphaltum. And I like how that looks over top of that warm white. Just love how that looks. So next, I'm going to work with a 3/8 polka dot stencil. If my camera guy will get me one.
3/8 polka dot?
Yep, a 3/8 polka dot. Two things that I forgot to put on my workstation this morning was the stamp pad and stamps and my stencil. Not even thinking. I putz. I can go around and let things dry and then I come back and I putz some more.
3/8?
There we go. The 3/8 polka dot stencil. No, that's right. So you could do this with any size you wanted to. If you wanted to use the little tiny one, you can. I really like the 3/8. I like the size. I'm just going to figure out. There we go. I want to get lots of pattern on this one. So I can get my stencil brush and a little bit of warm white. Too big. That stencil brush is way too big. There we go. I just needed a 1/4 inch stencil brush. There we go. I'm gonna blot that on some paper towel here. I'm going to mask this off a little bit because I don't want to get a whole bunch of white paint on my background. And I also want to secure my stencil, so I'll lay a piece of tape right there. And another piece like this. And then warm white, I don't want them fully opaque. I just want them to, there we go. So now I have polka dots on my can. I'm going to do the same thing on this, like this.
Can you get asphaltum at Michael's, Joann's, or Hobby Lobby?
Hobby Lobby is the only one of the big boxes that I know of that carries asphaltum. If you're in Canada, Delta Arts and Supply, you can order online from them. They are fantastic, and they carry a full range of the Americanas. There we go. I got polka dots on there too. I'm gonna move my tape. This is just a simple way to prevent your white from getting on everything that's not supposed to.
It's nice to know he knows what you use and where it is. Spend some time in the sandbox to learn where the castles are.
So there we go. I've got some white dots on my watering can. This can comes together quite quickly. So now I'm going to take that same asphaltum.
Ooh. Can you order from Delta Place if you live in the US?
Delta Arts, I believe you can, but the shipping will be exorbitant. So I'm going to put a shadow underneath that tag, and I'm not going right to the corner. I'm going to come shy of the corner and put that shadow this way and do the same thing here. I'm going to take it across and I'm going to stop a little short. That shadow, if it stops short of that edge right there, it gives it the appearance that it's lifted up. And then I'm going to add some age to the edges of this. So I'm just putting a float of the asphaltum around the outside edge of that tag, just like that. And then I'm going to deepen that shadow underneath. And the same there. And it gives you the illusion that it's lifted off of that surface, that it's not sitting directly on the surface. So I'm going to take some warm white and thin that out. And I'm going to put a fine line to the tag. And this is where my pen comes back in. And I'm going to put a nice little sketchy line. Not complete, not straight, not perfect, around the outside edge of that tag. Just like that. And I do the same thing to all of these white, warm white elements on the watering can. And you can see how easily that allows you to sketch onto that background. It works beautifully on acrylic paint. Love it.
There you go. Paula Ransdell just ordered asphaltum along with many other colors from Pinecraft in the USA.
Excellent. Pinecraft is one that I have never ordered from, but I've heard really good things about.
And again, people are asking about the pen.
Love my pen, my gel pen. We do have them on the website. They are a Japanese ink. It is very, very black, and they work absolutely beautifully on acrylic paint. If you're going to varnish, make sure they dry very, very well and then you should be able to apply your varnish over top of them. I like to sort of hedge my bets. When it comes to any kind of ink, I like to spray mine first. So I let it dry and then I'll hit it with a couple of light coats of matte spray. And that way I never have any issues.
And what kind of canvas are you painting on? I'm painting on canvas.
The one I'm working on right now is actually just an MDF panel. But the canvas that the original painting is on is sitting right in front of his face. The one that I used for the original is actually a profile canvas. These are from Michaels. They're in the professional series. I absolutely love that canvas. Just
barely.
okay. Ta-da! So from this point, I will let that ink dry very, very well. And then once it is, I will continue to deepen shadows and whatnot until I'm very happy with how it all looks. I tone all of that white with little floats of asphaltum just to soften it so it doesn't look quite so bright. And I can deepen shadows whenever I choose. I also will take a little bit of soft black and darken the shadows up underneath here. I do love soft black for that.
Apparently that pen comes in other colors as well.
Yes, it does. You can get it in white and red. It does come in green. I have seen those available on Amazon from time to time. But the black is the one that I use the most.
Yeah, and Cover Distributing in Ohio is a good place to get supplies.
Yes, Cupboard Distributing.
What is the Inkpad brand? Stays on, right?
It's a Stays On ink pad. You notice that I have I label it with a date because I have several. And it gives me an idea. They all, instead of getting them all mixed up, you never know which one is the newest. So when I open a new one, I put the date on it so that I know which is the oldest, and then they do get dry after a while. So I just like to put the date that I opened it on there so that I know how long I've had it. So we've done some work on our watering can. I shaded the top of this the same as I shaded all of the warm whites, all done with asphaltum. We've stenciled those polka dots onto the black areas. You can shade and highlight this portion next, and that is done. I take a little bit of that lamp black that we had, and then I pick up a little asphaltum with it so that I have a nice dark brown. And I'm going to put a shadow along here with that. And a little bit down here. Not the... Sorry about that, guys. Are we gone? Oh, okay. We're back. Somebody tried to message me and interrupted the feed. Sorry about that. So now I want to put a highlight on this, and I'm going to do that with a little bit of warm white. Actually, let's do it with the translucent white instead. And it's a very light float. I got a feeling this one's going to be too strong. Yes, it is. Way too strong. I didn't get all of the warm white out of my brush. Woo, still too strong. Okay. Let's try it. Third time's the charm. Let's see.
Sandy Tears in the chat now.
Hi, Chet. Hi, Sandy. So I've got just a thin float of translucent white right there. I'm gonna put the same thing right here. A little stronger here, and a little stronger there. There we go. So we've done the pot, we've done the tag, we've done the daisies, and we've done our fuzzy butt bumblebees. So, and we've covered the leaves. So I think the next thing we have to talk about is the lettering. And that one is pretty straightforward. So I already have my lettering transferred, but I want to talk about this. This is where my little 6-inch steel edge ruler comes in. And I know I sound like a broken record when I talk about this, but when I'm tracing and transferring lettering, especially lettering that has straight lines, straight edges, you have to keep them straight and vertical. And so I use a steel edge ruler for a couple of reasons. A plastic ruler has a tendency to get chipped and damaged over time, and then when you try to make a straight line, what you get is a rather ragged line. It might be a straight ragged line, but it's ragged nonetheless. So I trace using a very fine point pen, like this Uniball Signo, and that steel edge ruler. And I trace all my vertical and horizontal lines with it, so that that lettering is nice and clean and straight. So when you're transferring, this is what I recommend. Use a good sharp point pen. Doesn't have to be this one, but a good sharp point pen and a steel edge ruler. Remember the old wooden ones that had the little metal blade inserted in them? Those work great too. But this is what I recommend. And I always have a 6-inch one because it seems to be that happy medium for most of the surfaces that we work on. Once you've got your print out of your lettering or your line drawing, I take a ruler and I draw a straight line across the bottom of the lettering, usually the first row. And then I measure down on my surface to where that lettering needs to be, that first row needs to be. So in this case, it was 3 inches down. 3 inches down. And then I take a larger ruler and I draw a line from 3 inches down straight across. I put my line drawing on top of that so that this line on the line drawing lines up with the line on the background. And this will help you get nice, straight, level lettering, which is really important. There's nothing worse than finishing a piece and discovering that all your lettering is going uphill or down. So the brush that I'm going to use to do this lettering, I thought I would challenge myself today. Not that I need a challenge this week. So I have, this is one of the brushes that's in that giveaway set. This is a 2-0 flat shader. So this is my challenge today. I'm so used to working with my rigger. Can I do my lettering with a 2-0 flat shader? Let's find out. I think so. So I'm just using this brush on its chisel edge. Straight on the chisel edge, curve, open it up, back up onto the chisel edge. Flat. Ooh. This is working really good. On the chisel. See that chisel edge? Straight across. Up onto the edge and down. So if you're struggling to paint lettering, a good quality brush makes a world of difference. I use my riggers for lettering. So that's done with the flat shader. Really nice. The thing is that for lettering, I like to be able to do all of those fine details. So, look at that. Boys, oh boys, this works like a hot damn. Pretty cool. That worked really well. A 2-0 flat shader did that lettering. Now I like this to have that sort of incomplete or slightly rough look because it's for a garden. It should look a little bit distressed.
Hi from somewhere on I-95.
You're stuck in the car?
You're coming home from vacation.
So I'm going to load up. This is my 2-aught rigger. This is my number 2 rigger.
Or a good quality stencil.
Or a good quality stencil. Okay.
Best lettering ever. Good quality stencil. I'll agree with that one.
So this is my number 2 rigger. I like this because it have such great control over this brush. So on the chisel edge, press down till the brush opens up and then bring it up onto the chisel edge. Easy peasy. I love lettering with this brush. Press down till that brush opens up. It'll fill that space easily, and then bring it back up onto the chisel edge.
Is that a number 2?
This is a number 2. A 0 would actually do this space beautifully. The 0 is just a little bit smaller. Let's grab my 0 if I can find it.
There's a box over there.
This is a 0. I love this one. It's a little bit smaller, and it has just as nice a chisel edge as the 2s. But the brush doesn't have to work quite so hard for those narrower places.
Who sells the brush?
You can find that 0 or the zeros I have in stock on my website. The brush guys have the number 2s, 4s, 6s. They also have the 10-aught, which is the really fine one, which is great for little tiny details and lettering. So once you have all of your lettering painted, you can take that detail liner, that 15-aught that I was using a little earlier, your ultra fine script. I'm going to trim this out a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to add a shadow to the inside of this letter, and it's just a fine line like so. Just take your time doing it. Get up next to the white and put that little fine line in. It's a simple fine line, no fancy shading, but it is enough to lift that lettering off of the surface. This isn't hard to do, it just requires that you take your time. Make sure that your brush is well loaded. And that little shadow will lift that right off that surface. So that, my friends, is that. This was a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed painting the original piece, and then playing with this today was just nice and relaxing and nothing stressful or strenuous in any way, shape, or form. So thank you so much for coming to play and spend some time with me today. I really do appreciate that. And don't forget, leave your comment in the comment section. Tell us where you're watching from. We always like to know where in the world everybody is. So if you can leave a comment in the comment section for that, and then share the video. The video will be up on my YouTube channel later on today, and it will also be available on the website. So if you aren't following my YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button so that you're notified about new videos that go up. We have one on the midweek every week. We're doing a new one this week, a new rack, R-A-K. There'll be a new little fun project for that on the YouTube channel on Thursday. Next week, I have something really fun planned for you guys. We're going to get a little more elaborate next week. So watch for the pattern and the picture. That'll be going up probably Monday. So thanks again so much for joining me every Saturday. It tickles me pink to spend time with you, and I hope that you enjoy it as well. Mwah. Love you guys. Stay safe.